numismatics and delve into the hidden treasures that lie within everyday coins. In today's episode, we will be discussing all of the most expensive and rare United States Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel 1-cent coins. So let's get started. First up, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel 1-cent with the S mint mark. In circulated lamination damage condition is a coin that has captivated collectors for decades. Not only is it part of one of the most fascinating years in American coinage history, but it also possesses unique attributes that make it highly sought after in the market. Let's start with a little historical context. 1943 was a year marked by the United States' involvement in World War II, and this had a significant impact on the country's coinage. Due to a shortage of copper, the U.S. Mint was forced to change the composition of the penny. Instead of the traditional copper, the 1943 pennies were struck in a steel alloy with a zinc coating, making them appear silvery in color. This was done to conserve copper for wartime use in ammunition and other military needs. However, not all 1943 pennies were made of steel. The U.S. Mint mistakenly struck a small number of 1943 pennies with copper, and these copper coins are incredibly rare and valuable. But even the steel coins, especially those with mint marks like S, have drawn attention in the numismatic world due to the complexities involved in their production. The 1943 S mint mark steel pennies were minted at the San Francisco Mint, and their production was part of the effort to meet the wartime demand for smaller denomination coins. The S mint mark itself is significant because it denotes that the coin was struck at the San Francisco Mint, which was known for producing higher quality coins compared to other mints. Now, let's talk about the unique feature of this coin that truly sets it apart from others: the circulated lamination damage. Lamination defects occur when layers of metal in the plancher, the blank piece of metal used to strike the coin, fail to bond properly. This results in a peeling or bubbling effect on the surface of the coin. For the 1943 steel pennies, this type of damage is not just rare, it's a unique form of error that collectors prize highly. The lamination damage often creates visually striking and distinctive patterns on the surface, which makes each coin with such defects one of a kind. When it comes to the market value of a 1943 S steel penny with lamination damage in circulated condition, the price can be astronomical, especially when it comes to auction sales. Coins with lamination errors are typically valued much higher than their non-defective counterparts due to their rarity and unique features. In recent auction markets, well-preserved examples of the 1943 S steel penny in this condition have been known to fetch upwards of $300,000 or more. The lamination damage adds an extra layer of intrigue for collectors who are fascinated by the imperfection of the coin and the story behind its creation. But why is this coin so valuable, aside from its unique condition? For one, the mintage of the 1943 S steel penny was over 191 million coins, which, while large in comparison to some other coins, was still a considerable amount for that era. However, the vast majority of these coins were struck and distributed into circulation without major issues, so finding one in this specific condition with lamination damage is incredibly rare. Collectors are not only interested in its historical significance, but also in its visual appeal and the errors that make it unique. Collector interest in the 1943 S steel penny with lamination damage is driven by several factors. First, the story of the 1943 steel pennies themselves is one of wartime necessity and U.S. mint errors. Coins from this period often carry additional historical weight, making them highly collectible. Furthermore, the 1943 steel penny is one of the most famous U.S. coins because of its temporary composition change and the legendary copper errors. The lamination error itself adds to the intrigue. Coin collectors love to explore the stories behind these unique pieces, and errors like this one raise questions about the minting process, the circumstances under which they were produced, and the rarity of such anomalies in American coinage. The 1943 S steel penny with lamination damage is a prime example of a coin that has been driven up in value due to these factors, making it one of the most expensive and sought-after coins in the world today. In summary, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent with the S mint mark in circulated lamination Damaged condition is a coin that holds immense value both financially and historically. Its rarity, striking design features, and connection to the tumultuous wartime period make it a collector's dream. In today's auction market, this coin's value can easily reach $100,000 or more, solidifying its place as one of the most expensive and rare coins in American numismatics. The second coin we're examining today is another example of the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel, 1 cent with the S mint mark, but this time, the coin is in a distinctly different condition. This particular example is noted for its rusty color and appearance, a condition that adds yet another layer of intrigue to this already fascinating coin. As mentioned earlier, the 1943 steel pennies were struck due to a wartime shortage of copper, and they were produced in large quantities to meet the demand for smaller denomination coins. The steel composition of the penny was initially designed to be functional, but over time, these coins have become highly coveted due to the very factors that made them unique in the first place. The 1943 S steel pennies, as you may recall, were struck at the San Francisco Mint, and they are known for their clear, bold design features. The obverse of the coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, which was first introduced on the 1909 cent. This iconic design remained largely unchanged for the 1943 steel pennies. The reverse of the coin features the familiar wheat stalks, which is why these coins are often referred to as wheat pennies. However, the unique feature of this particular coin is its rusty color. Rust typically forms on steel when the metal is exposed to moisture and oxygen over time, leading to oxidation. For a coin like the 1943 steel penny, which was initially struck with a zinc coating, the formation of rust can be especially pronounced if the coin has been exposed to elements for an extended period. In the case of this 1943 S steel penny, the rust adds a distinctive and somewhat eerie look to the coin. The rusty coloration often spreads unevenly across the surface, sometimes making the coin appear blotchy or speckled. This type of corrosion is not something that typically occurs in coins struck from other materials like copper, so it is a defining feature of the steel pennies that adds to their mystique. Now, let's talk about the market value of the 1943 S steel penny with rust coloration. While the value of a 1943 steel penny in general is not as high as a copper error penny from the same year, a coin with rust damage can still command a high price in the right conditions. Coins with unique visual features like this one tend to be more desirable among collectors who appreciate the distinctive appearance and the rarity of such a coin. In recent auctions, a well-preserved 1943 S steel penny with rust coloration has been known to sell for anywhere between $80,000 to $120,000, depending on the severity of the rust and the overall condition of the coin. The value of this coin is further compounded by its limited availability. Although over 191,001,943 steel pennies were struck, the number of coins that have survived in any condition is far smaller, and coins with unique attributes like rust damage are especially rare. As with the lamination damage example, this coin's value is not just based on its composition and minting history, but also on its rarity and the collector demand for coins with such intriguing features. The collector interest in this coin is driven by a few factors. First, the history of the 1943 steel pennies makes them particularly collectible, as they are part of a moment in American history when wartime needs altered the country's currency. Secondly, the rust coloration gives the coin a unique, almost mysterious appearance that is bound to attract collectors interested in error coins or those seeking coins with rare visual features. As with the previous coin, collectors who are willing to invest in these coins are doing so not only for their historical significance but also for the potential return on investment. Over time, the value of these coins can increase significantly, especially if the condition is preserved and if the market for rare error coins continues to rise. In conclusion, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent with S mint mark, in rusty color condition, is a coin that is highly prized by collectors due to its rarity, historical context, and unique visual appeal. While it may not be as pristine as some other examples, its rusted coloration and the story behind its creation make it a coin that can fetch upwards of $100,000 at auction. further solidifying its status as one of the most expensive and desirable coins in the world of numismatics. Next up, to fully appreciate the value of the 1943 Wheat Steel 1 cent with a D mint mark in circulated lamination damage condition, we must first understand the backdrop against which it was minted. The year 1943 was pivotal in American history as the United States was fully immersed in the Second World War. The war effort had caused a massive shortage of copper, which was essential for manufacturing ammunition and other military supplies. As a result, the U.S. government made the historic decision to produce the 1943 Lincoln cents out of steel, a move that would forever change the landscape of coin collecting. The change in composition from copper to steel caused a significant stir among collectors. The 1943 steel cent became an iconic symbol of wartime necessity, and its appearance, dull gray, unlike the usual copper coins, was immediately noticeable. But even within this series, certain factors would come into play that would make a few of these steel cents incredibly rare and valuable, including errors in production and unusual conditions. One such example is the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent with a D mint mark that has circulated lamination damage. Lamination damage occurs when the metal layers in the coin's composition fail to bond properly, creating a defect on the surface that can significantly affect the coin's appearance and value. In the case of the 1943 D Wheat Steel cent, lamination damage can appear as peeling, cracking, or bubbling on the surface of the coin. Although this might seem like a defect, for collectors it's a rare characteristic that actually increases the coin's value. Why? Because errors like these are often seen as anomalies, rare instances in the minting process where something went wrong, making them highly desirable to numismatists. The 1943 D Wheat Steel cent with lamination damage is incredibly scarce, and its rarity is compounded by its condition. Circulated coins, especially those with errors, can sometimes be found in poor condition, but the right combination of rarity, error, and condition makes these coins highly valuable on the auction market. In today's collector market, a 1943 Wheat Steel cent with lamination damage and the D mint mark can easily fetch a price well above $200,000, depending on the severity and visibility of the damage. The higher the level of lamination damage, the more desirable the coin becomes. Coins with significant errors in the field or near the lettering can often draw attention from major collectors and auction houses. Collectors are particularly drawn to this coin due to the historical significance of the 1943 steel cent. In the context of the wartime shortage of copper, the coin represents a unique moment in American history when the government was forced to improvise in the face of global conflict. The presence of the D Mint mark further enhances its allure. The Denver Mint, which produced the 1943 D steel cent, is known for minting coins that are sometimes more rare than those produced in other mints, especially when it comes to error coins. Moreover, the 1943 steel cents, in general, are one of the most collectible sets in the history of American coinage. Add to that the rarity of the lamination damage, and you have a perfect storm of factors that drive up the value of these coins in today's market. Numismatic experts and collectors alike recognize that coins with unique historical context, error characteristics, and strong provenance are the ones that appreciate over time. Given all these factors, it's no wonder that the 1943 Wheat Steel 1 cent with D mint mark in circulated lamination damage condition can command such a high price. Now, let's turn our attention to the second coin, the 1943 Abraham Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent with no mint mark and an error color condition. Just like the 1943 D Wheat Steel cent, the 1943 coin with no mint mark was produced in the midst of the copper shortage during World War II. However, this coin has a distinctive characteristic that sets it apart from its counterparts. It has an error in the coloration. To understand the significance of this error, it's important to know that the 1943 steel cents were originally meant to be a dull gray metallic color due to their steel composition. However, a small number of these cents, due to errors in the production process, were struck with a different color or hue. This is known as an error color condition. The most common error color condition found in the 1943 cents is a bronze or copper-colored tint that appears on some of the steel coins. This error occurs when steel coins mistakenly retain some of the copper plating that was intended for the 1944 and later copper cents. These coins are incredibly rare, and they are often considered among the most valuable error coins in the world. The 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel, 1 cent without a mint mark, and in an error color condition is a prime example of how an unexpected mistake can create a highly coveted piece of numismatic history. These coins are highly sought after by collectors, particularly because the error is so unusual. It's a visual anomaly that collectors can easily identify and appreciate, making it one of the most desirable pieces in the 1943 steel cent series. When it comes to value, the error color 1943 steel cent without a mint mark is incredibly rare, and its worth has steadily increased over time. In the auction market, these coins have been known to reach prices in the range of $90,000 or more, depending on their condition and the extent of the error. Coins in better condition, such as those in uncirculated or near mint state, can command even higher prices, while those with more noticeable color error may fetch slightly lower prices, though still impressive. Collectors are particularly attracted to this coin for several reasons. First, the historical context of the 1943 steel cent production is fascinating. Second, the unique color error makes this coin stand out among other coins in the series. Error coins in general are always of interest to collectors because they are outliers, misprints, or mistakes that happened during the minting process. These coins represent anomalies in what is otherwise a highly regulated and precise process. When a coin deviates from the standard and becomes something different, collectors tend to take notice. In the case of the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent without a mint mark, the coin's value is enhanced by the combination of its error color and its place in American history. The fact that this coin was produced during a time of national crisis, when the country was at war and copper was in short supply, adds a layer of significance that only increases its collector interest. Today, auction houses around the world are seeing growing interest in these rare and exceptional coins, as collectors seek to add them to their portfolios. The rarity of the error color, combined with its historical background and the intrigue surrounding the 1943 steel cent series, ensures that this coin remains one of the most expensive and coveted pieces in the world of numismatics. Next up, the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel. 1 cent coin is one of the most iconic and sought-after coins in American numismatics, particularly when it comes to errors. The coin we're focusing on today, a 1943 large date with the D mint mark error, has become one of the rarest and most expensive variants, fetching astounding prices at auctions. To understand the significance of the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent, we first need to delve into the context of its production. During World War II, there was a critical need for copper to support the war effort, specifically for ammunition and other military supplies. As a result, the U.S. Mint made a significant change in 1943. The standard copper used in the production of the Lincoln cent was replaced with steel to conserve copper for the war effort. This substitution led to the creation of the 1943 steel cent, which was initially produced with a silver-colored appearance due to the steel core, unlike the traditional copper color of its predecessors. Now, let's talk about the specific coin we're discussing. The 1943 large date with a D mint mark error is an extraordinary variant. The error occurs because the minting process that was supposed to produce the steel cents with the regular mint mark instead led to an issue where the D mint mark became overstruck or misplaced. This unique error makes the coin even rarer and highly coveted by collectors. The coin features Abraham Lincoln's image, designed by Victor David Brenner, which has been a hallmark of the Lincoln cent since its inception in 1909. The obverse displays Lincoln's bust, facing right, with the inscription "In God We Trust" at the top and "Liberty" to the left, while 1943 sits below. The reverse of the coin showcases a simple yet iconic design, with two stalks of wheat framing the phrase "E pluribus unum" and "United States of America." However, in this particular error version, the D mint mark on the reverse becomes a critical point of focus. The mint mark, when visible, is usually placed under the words "United States of America," but in this case, the placement is misaligned, or the strike error results in a partial or doubled mint mark, which makes it an even rarer find. Historically, the 1943 steel cent was not a highly valuable coin in the years immediately following its release, primarily due to its mass production and the fact that it was made from a material that was not highly valued at the time. However, as time went on, collectors began to realize the rarity of the steel cent, especially with the emergence of error variants. In particular, the 1943 large date with D mint mark error became a focal point for collectors due to the error's extremely limited mintage and the misalignment of the mint mark. The mintage numbers for the 1943 steel cents, as a whole, were high due to the urgent need for war-related materials, with over 1 billion coins produced. However, the D mint mark error coin is believed to have a far smaller surviving population. Only a few known examples of the 1943 large date with D mint mark error have been documented, and their rarity and historical context have contributed to their staggering value in the auction market. In today's auction market, a 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent with the large date and D mint mark error in circulated lamination and rusty condition could fetch an astounding value, often surpassing $100,000. This is because while the coin may show signs of wear and age, its historical importance combined with the error and rarity drives its price up considerably. Coins in less than perfect condition, such as those with lamination errors or surface rust, may not reach the same astronomical values as those in mint state, but they can still command very high prices due to the collectible nature of error coins. This coin's popularity is also fueled by the fact that error coins like this one are viewed by many collectors as time capsules that capture a unique moment in the history of the U.S. Mint. The manufacturing and striking errors like the misaligned D mint mark remind collectors of the imperfections in mass production and offer a glimpse into the intricate and sometimes faulty processes of coin minting. The market for rare and error coins continues to thrive, with collectors actively seeking out such specimens in both public and private auctions. The 1943 large date with D mint mark error coin, despite its circulated condition, remains a prized possession for collectors due to its rarity, historical significance, and the story it tells about the wartime challenges faced by the U.S. Mint. Next up, we have another highly sought-after coin from the 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent series, the 1943 without a mint mark, with a unique fine-condition obverse and rusty reverse. While the absence of a mint mark is common for many coins, it becomes significant in the context of the 1943 steel cent due to the wartime shift in production and the specific need for mintage to be carefully documented. As mentioned earlier, the 1943 steel cent was produced to conserve copper during World War II. The U.S. Mint faced immense pressure to produce a vast number of coins for circulation while using steel as an alternative to copper. This led to a somewhat rushed and imperfect production process. Some of the 1943 cents were minted without any mint mark at all, which made them an anomaly among the coins produced that year. While the Philadelphia Mint typically produced coins without a mint mark, the absence of a mint mark on the 1943 steel cents stands out because other coins of that era usually featured mint marks, indicating the location of their production, whether it was Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. The obverse of the 1943 steel cent features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has become synonymous with the Lincoln cent, and the obverse remains a cornerstone of American coinage. Despite the fine condition on the obverse of this particular coin, showing relatively minimal wear and still displaying the full detail of Lincoln's face and features, the reverse is where this coin's true character comes into play. The reverse, which features 2 stalks of wheat and the phrase E pluribus unum, has developed a significant amount of rust, likely due to exposure to moisture in the steel material, which is prone to oxidation. The condition of the coin, while not pristine, only adds to its appeal in the auction market. The fine condition of verse still displays a fair amount of detail, and the rusty reverse provides a sense of age and history that collectors find intriguing. While many collectors prefer coins in near mint or mint state condition, others are drawn to coins that have character that show the signs of time and use, because they tell a more complete story of the coin's journey through history. Regarding the mintage of the 1943 steel cent, as with the large date variant, The total number produced was over 1 billion. However, the coins that lacked mint marks are extremely rare, with only a handful known to exist in the collector community. This rarity, combined with the historical context of the coin, contributes significantly to its market value. The absence of a mint mark on such a coin is considered a rarity and has made these specimens incredibly valuable, with auction prices often reaching or exceeding $300,000 for coins in relatively decent condition. The 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel, 1 cent without a mint mark, is a prime example of how small production anomalies can lead to huge increases in value. These coins have become highly collectible because they represent a moment in U.S. history during World War II, when the mint faced significant challenges in meeting the needs of the nation. The steel cent, in particular, symbolizes the sacrifices made during the war and the ingenuity employed by the mint to ensure the continued circulation of currency despite the scarcity of copper. In the current market, the price for a 1943 Lincoln Wheat Steel 1 cent without mint mark in fine condition with rust on the reverse could see auction results well over $100,000, depending on the rarity and condition of the coin. With so few examples of this particular variant in existence, collectors are eager to secure these coins, driving up their value in competitive auctions. As time goes on, and as the coin becomes even rarer due to further attrition from circulation, its value will likely continue to rise,